But I got Virtual World. Virtual World was one of my favorite decks. Slept on decks. It's a fucking sleeper deck. So people be like, oh, Virtual World is trash, it's bricky. Yeah, Virtual World may be bricky, but the things it could do with 2 cards probably do more than what your deck could do. You know? And they don't play no links to help them. They play all old summon mechanics. So to me, it's one of the most slept on decks. And it just got so much recursion in it that it's crazy. Sometimes your end board don't even really matter. As long as you're able to keep recurring your fucking resources and put monsters on the field and like handle your opponent like Shinshir, you're gonna end up winning anyway, regardless. So let's get right to the list. And it's like got some of the best artwork. There's a Psychic deck. We was asking for Psychic decks for a minute. Now there's a Psychic and a Worm deck. So this card is your searcher. You target one, you search the other copy. You know, she give you the versatility to be able to search a trap, your monster, your spell, and you just target whatever that you're not searching. Or because she targets one, so you get a target spell, trap, or monster, and whatever you can decide either search the trap or the monster, depending on what you didn't target. So yeah, it's a pretty good card, man. Slept on, and the only bad part about them, they could be hit by Ash Blossom and Ghost Bell. Well, some of them can. She can't get hit by Ghost Bell. She can only get hit by Ash Blossom. But a lot of times you can put other cards in to bait your opponents with Ash, which will guarantee your Lulu will go through. So that's another reason why this deck is slept on. So after you got your Lulus, you got your other tuner, because you only got 2 tuners really in here. Then you got a pseudo tuner. So you got this guy, he's the one that brings monster back. This the guy that get hit by Ghost Bell and Ash Blossom. So you have to be careful with him. A lot of times I don't use him until the end. That way I can guarantee like if I have a spell or trap on my field, I guarantee that I can get at least a Synchro 9 on the field at least. Or you could do a rank 6 or rank 3. So that's why I say it's so versatile, because you can manipulate their levels. What decks you know that allows you to really manipulate levels so freely like this deck does? Not many. And that's going to give you a free monster to go into whatever you want to go into. This card is your Foolish Burial. Kind of remind me like a different variant of Shaddolls, because they got their own little things that they do. This card is your Foolish Burial, is like a Squamata. It's going to send your spell and your traps to the grave, your monsters, to some monsters in your deck, and most of your spell and trap, all your Virtual World spell and trap does something in grave. Either modify a level, summoning something back, or searches. And these are all good effects. So this card can get your monsters in the grave. That allow you to get banished cards back, or be able to summon them back from the graveyard for free, just by no more special summon another level 3 monster. For your other level 3 monster, you got the GG. To me, this is one of the best ones, because this gives you a follow-up every turn. And a lot of times people will go for Roshi, but I think if you don't have this or Roshi, you probably won't go for this one. Just make sure you put a Yang Yan in grave, so when he hit the field, you can bring your Yang Yan back. That way you can supplement for the Roshi that summons another monster. But this is going to add your Lulu back to your hand for your following turn. That way you guarantee the Lulu send, get a free body on field search. So yeah. Busted card. This is one of the main cards you should probably go for. Then you got your Yang Yan. This card says if it's in the graveyard already, and normal summon or special summon a level 3 monster, it summons itself back out as a tuner. So it changes from a non-tuner to a tuner, which is very good. Because it's a level 3 monster, and sometimes you don't even need it for that, because you just go into a rank 3. Then you got the one people cut this card, but this card is good because it's a level 6 monster that you can normal summon. Virtual World name and all, also to come back from the grave. If you have like a extra Virtual name in your hand that you already used, and she bring herself back as a tuner. But she banished 2 as well to give you a Chuchi shuffle back target when you pop in your opponent cards. So one of the cards in my extra deck, I'm gonna have to tell you that about when I get to it, but it should be switched off for another card. But I'll let you know what it is when we get there. So we get to the hand trap now. I played 3 Ash. Don't play too many hand traps. I'd rather side most of my hand traps because Virtual already bricky. adding a lot of hand traps is not going to make your deck less bricky. It's just going to make it more bricky. But a good thing about these hand traps that I like to play is they're level 3s, also they're tuners. So these are pretty good hand traps to just even normal summon if you don't even use them, or you can just pitch them for whatever your spell, your discard fodder for your spell or your trap. Level 3 tuner. This stop your opponent from doing other things like summoning from graveyard, banishing from your graveyard. A lot of people want to try to either hit your, banish some of your cards from grave, but don't know that banishing your cards from grave don't really hurt you that bad. But if you know if you just sent your Queen Long and they're trying to banish you from grave, this helps keep your plays going, stop your opponent from getting rid of your cards and negging you with card advantage. Power Desire at 3 because it is free in this deck. If you going past round 4 or 3, or matter of fact, if you're going past round 2, I mean not round 2, game 2. I don't know, I keep saying game or round. I mean turn. I'm sorry. Turn 2 to 3. This deck just get even broken because your Power Desires become more free because you just put those banished cards right back. So all the banished cards that you banished that you needed, you just put them back on Yan Yan. And it allows your Pot of Desire to become that much more freer. So now you done drew 2 for 8 or drew 2 for 9, which is way better than what most decks are going through. And then they banish their combo pieces, they can't get them back. It's a slept on card. I play this for another hand trap bait because this card 90% of the time will get hand trapped because your opponent, and especially in game 2 and 3, because they don't want you to pick out a card out their board. So a lot of times, or they don't want you to find the perfect card to get your turn going. So they hit this card first with Ash and try to save another hand trap. But other hand traps is not that good against Virtual World. The best ones to use against them is Ash and Ghost Bell. I play the triple tax because you can get Ash and Ghost Bell, allow you to draw extra cards, or allow you to take your opponent monster or whatnot. If your opponent got negates on the field, like Appaloosa, everybody play Appaloosa. So this card help take the Appaloosa and oust it completely easily. Like everybody playing hand traps. There's so many hand traps. You guaranteed that they're gonna proc this card. But I probably sat it out game 2 or 3 because they're gonna know you playing it. So you might want to take it out for the droplets, which is busting in this deck because your traps do things in gray, your spells do things in gray, and your monster do things in gray. And a lot of times you want all those cards to be in gray, and drop will allow you to do that, and your opponent can't respond. The City Cologne activates a spell and trap that say Virtual World City directly from the deck. So you get your Chuchi out there on the field to pop your opponent face-up cards on the field. And you got the Queen Long that negates. What is that? Virtual World Gate card, my fault. This negates by banishing one card from your graveyard. I think it's one Virtual World card. Yep, banish one Virtual World card from your graveyard. So it could be spell, trap, or monster. Anything that say Virtual World, you can banish it. And negate one of your opponent's effects. Also, while it's in grave, you can banish this from grave to search any Virtual World monster, which is very good. So that means you can even pop your own Queen Long to give you card advantage, which I have seen good players do. For the one spells, Harpy Feather Duster, because back row kind of kill this deck as well. So you want to say no to their back row. This card is at 2. I don't know how I feel about it being at 2, because it's alright at 1 as it is, but it probably might make it more powerful at 2, but I just only own 1 copy. I literally, before the ban list, got rid of my second copy because it was a gold version, so it was worth a couple $, so I just got rid of it where I could. So I only got 1 for this list. For the traps, you play 2 Chuchi and 1 Queen Long. I've seen people bump this up to 3, which I have no problem bumping this up to 3, because once you banish both of these, or you banish one and get one in grave and you can't get this banished one back, this card literally becomes dead. You can't even use it no more. And this is like the main reason why Virtual World stays in the game, because they do have a trap card that's going to pop something on their field, on your opponent's side of the field, once per turn, every turn. So this is the card that allows you to, this card allows you to have a pitch card, but you special summon a Virtual World monster back from your graveyard, negating its effects. So that's it for the virtual trap. For the last trap in the main deck, or the last card in the main deck, I play Imperial Order. Because Virtual World do make boards, like strong boards. But Dark Ruler can shut down pretty much everything. So can Forbidden Droplet. And then now you got Cross Designator too as well. So you want to be able to Imperial Order all their cards. So main in that is definitely needed. Let's get to the extra so I can tell you about the card I want to put in here. That I originally had in here. Zeus is cool in here. You can hard make it. You can make it with the extra materials, but I feel like that's just taking extra dead space. So I rather hard make my Zeus than try to go ahead and go for a Crystal Wing. Actually, you overextending your hand. And then the opponent breaks that board, now you have way less cards in your hand to even make another board. So I kind of figured I want to save as many resources as I can, be able to put up impactful monsters that's going to slow my opponent down just enough. So yeah, Zeus that one, you can hard make it in here. You got the Fan. This help out cards from the graveyard because it could target up 2 cards and banishing them. Yep. So it banishes one from field and graveyard. MX7, this is like one of the best cards in this deck because it allows you to keep getting resources back every turn. If your opponent already have a hard time like getting over your board, and let's say they break or something, or they just didn't open optimal, or you hand trap them, this card becomes that more impactful. Because now you can add back hand traps, you can add back anything. If you got Lulu in hand from Gigi, you can use this to add back your Roshi. Now you got 2 virtual lands that's going to be very impactful because one's going to search and another one's going to summon one back from the grave. That's 4 different monsters you can get access to. Or 3 to 4 different monsters. Then you got the Utopia Beyond. I still play this card. A lot of people don't play this card. It's a 3K beater. Negates and turn all monsters attack to 0. Easy way to get 3K damage on your opponent. And it's so easy to make because you just need 2 level 6 monsters. Virtual World does that on 1 card. This card I may cut. This card I was going to put in for the Bamboozling Shadow, Gossip Shadow. So my opponent won't be able to hand trap me when I get to a certain point in my combo. But for right now, I do like the Break Sword. I don't know if I'm going to cut it, but I may cut something else for it. I played the Virtual World Juji, or whatever it is. I can't really pronounce it. But this card sends something by banishing 2 cards from your graveyard, which could fuel your Chuchi, and just it's like a Dengursu. But it targets. Dengursu don't target. Coil Dragon is a card, it's interruption because you can pop cards, you can draw cards. There's a Synchro Tuner, level 6. It's an easier way to get it to Ultimate Zoken. I do play the Ultimate Zoken package still, but I just don't see myself playing Dragoon or Kaliga. I mean, I have had great success with those cards, but I kind of wanted to see what else the deck could do instead of just relying on one set board. It's like doing the same thing with the True Kings of Calamity before they got hit. Now, if they hit Kaliga or Muddy Mudrake or something, now we have to find other ways to play the deck. So I figured I'm just going to start now and just try to figure out other ways you can manipulate this deck. Because this deck is very manipulative and you can research, like, it's rare you find Yu-Gi-Oh decks that can actually replace themselves from both the graveyard, the banished area, you know, and from field. So it's kind of crazy that this deck can do all that. I played the Synchros to help out my opponent, what's his name? They hit banish 3 cards, I think, from the graveyard. So it's essentially like your crystal, not crystal wing, your Trishula. And this card banishes up to 3 cards, which is very good. And it's like, I think it's on the field and graveyard. Yep, controls or in their graveyard. So this card can hit any card that controls or in their graveyard. I banish up to 3 of them, pretty much. Because the way you make it, you have to use at least 2 or 3 materials. This card hits banish all the spell and trap. This card is spell and trap removal. This could be spell and trap or monster removal. So that's why I like these cards in general. Besides, it's not that hard making them with virtual world cards. Not at all, because your virtual world modify their levels. And then on top of that, you decide which monsters you want to search. And they all are level 3 to level 6s, which is so easy to get out for these level 9s. Then you got your Stardust Charge Warrior, non-tuner. You draw a card, but this card attack all monsters. This card with Utopia Beyond is game. So if your opponent has 2 to 3 monsters on field, so let's say your opponent had 2 monsters on field, or 3, it don't matter. He's gonna turn all the attacks to 0 anyway, but he's gonna attack every last one of the special summon ones. And they're gonna be 2K for each attack that he do, plus the 3K. So if you do that, what? 2 times 3, that's like 6K plus another 3K. That's game. I have done that numerous times. So I decided like I'm gonna keep that package in here. Besides, just help you draw for more card advantage. And then you got the main boss monster of the deck, Shin Shin. This is the monster that you always want to summon out first, no matter what, because this is the main card that's gonna hinder your opponent and it's gonna refuel your Chuchi. That allows you to always have your Chuchi and Shin Shin together. And that's 2 interactions right there, but this is kind of like an interaction that's continuous, so they can't shut this off unless they find like a fake Veiler, permanence, or something. And then once they use them permanence, they're gonna have to banish them permanence because they hit the field. I mean, that's if it doesn't go through, you know what I mean? But if they can hit permanence, it's not gonna hurt you at all, because it's just gonna come back next turn. So this is how you hard make your Zeus with these 2. This is a level 12. This is a level 12. This is generic level 12 you can make easily. This one requires 2 level 6 monsters. So you can make this pretty easy as well as you can make this. And on top of that, you just put these on top of each other because you don't need a Zoka no more to make Zeus. Then you have Zeus Crystal Wing plus Chuchi. You know, your opponent get past your Crystal Wing and all that other stuff. And on top of it, take less resources to make these 2 together with the Zeus, the Crystal Wing disc and the Zeus with the Chuchi, and you could probably make a Shin Shin on top of that pretty easily without having to burn extra resources trying to make the Crystal Wing. Then gotta turn around and make the Mud Dragon. So you gotta find 2 level 3 monsters again to be able to make your Mud Dragon. When you can just use those 2 level 3s and bump one of them up to 6 and make a Shin Shin instead of having to make a Kaliga or something. Then you got your Crystal Wing, because the whole board still auto loses to Dark Ruler no more. So why try to play extra card that's going to overextend yourself? Crystal Wing's the best monster negator in our deck. You can summon him before 5 summons or on the 5th summon. So that's really it for the extra deck. We're going to get to the side deck now. Side deck, I play Derek only B1 because you play different types. And it's not that hard, especially with your hand traps being tuners as well. You can make synchro monsters out of that as well. So you keep that in mind. This card hurts. You play these floodgates if you can. If your deck could take floodgates, if you could play around floodgates, play those floodgates because it's definitely going to hinder your opponent. Because you'll never know what they're playing. If they're playing zombies, this shuts them down because they only can have 1 zombie on field. And that means there's only 1 interaction you have to deal with, probably through Birchlock. Doing King Birchlock. I put the droplets in the side because a lot of times in Virtual you want to go first. And then your going second cards is your hand traps and your triple attacks and all those. And besides, triple attacks is a good going first card as well for this deck because they have to hand trap you. They can't just play a spell or trap to stop you. Twin Twister. You like to discard cards anyway, and it pops 2 back row, so you get the most optimized advantage. Twin Twister and this with a Queen Long, Twin Twister and using Queen Long, the pop 2 of your opponent back row is devastating. Sometimes you can even pop. Yeah, we can pop anything. Actually, you can pop your own cards as well. So you can pop one of your opponents and pop your Queen Long that's on the field. Pretty good card. And it's very versatile in this deck. So it's droplets because you can send spell trap monsters, as I said earlier. And if your opponent cannot respond, this is a little sauce I put in my deck because a lot of decks cannot play around Zombie World. And this is a quick effect banish from the grade and on field. So you could toolbar this card out and you do not play any field spells in your Virtual World list already. So to me, this is like one of the best. This or Necker Valley. But there's no real way for us to terrible out Necker Valley like there is Zombie World. So Necker Valley is alright, but Zombie World seems a lot better because it hinders a lot more strategies like Tri-Brigade, Dragon Link. A lot of the big decks, this deck hinders. The Virtual World don't hurt them decks that much because they don't summon from graveyard all the time. They can summon extra cards from their deck instead to continue doing what they wanted to do. So I played the Pranker-Tops. A good going second card. The Phantasme is very good in this deck because you do not link summon. So they cannot Phantasme you, but you can always Phantasme your opponent. Also, stop your opponent from targeting your monsters. So they try to target Shen Shen to turn it off. You could just negate it with Phantasme. That's why I say I could throw this in the main, but I'm not sure what my ratio would be running to people who play link deck. So that's going to link summon. Besides, I'm going to go first majority of the time. So this card is good going second, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not good, but the way Virtual World play and you have the discard card, a lot of times people discard the Phantasme. But you really want to keep the Phantasme in hand. So, because it's going to give you the most card advantage out of the hand traps. So that's why I sided. So if I know if I'm playing against a heavy link deck, I'm going to throw this card in. That way I'm going to hinder my opponent from targeting my cards and punish them from playing that deck. In the last hand trap, I'm not sure about Droll. Every ban list, I feel like everybody should at least put Droll off to the side because Droll was like one of the main hidden hand traps from the last format. So many decks searched. So people might be changing their list up or whatever deck they may be playing. So Droll is definitely better for the side right now than trying to throw it in the main. Also keep in mind that this card's win attribute does play a fact and a toll in this deck because sometimes you have to banish cards with the same attribute, different types or something like that. Or different types and different names. These hand traps are all different attributes and types from each other. So you can just banish your hand traps to get your cards back from grave. But that's it for the list for Virtual World. I haven't did the list in this for a minute. Y'all stay safe, stay COVID free. And make sure y'all follow your own man and don't be following everybody else's. Be a leader, not a follower.